Now let's go over some partnership, we'll call them insights. In order to capitalize on the unique advantages of a partnership, be sure to choose your partner carefully. Be open but cautious about partnerships with friends. Test drive the relationship if possible. Create a combined vision for the business. You should also prepare for the worst. The divorce rate of business partnerships is higher than marriages. Problems usually stem from turf battles over control. Problems also arise because it's not lined out in advance who is responsible for what, and related disagreements on these issues can assure conflict, and conflict may require the services of a business mediator. If you've ever thought about forming a partnership, it does have its advantages. It allows you to share the workload, share emotional burdens. It also allows you to procure executive talent that you otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. You're able to share the financial burden, and it also provides companionship. Partnerships also includes its share of disadvantages. There can be interpersonal conflicts, dissatisfaction with your partner, the absence of one clear leader leading to arguments, the dilution of equity, and it can lead to a frustration of not being able to call one's own shots. It's important to plan in advance what the rights and duties of each partner will be. It's also a great idea to come up with a partnership agreement, which is a document that states explicitly what each person is obligated to do. This document should also include what rights they have in the partnership. If you're thinking about starting a partnership, the term agency power is one you'll want to be familiar with. This is the ability of any one partner to legally bind the other partners. This can be done if one partner decides to borrow money, for example. Whatever debts and obligations are incurred by one partner are shared by all. The disadvantages of sole proprietorships and partnerships have led a lot of people to look at the corporation option. A corporation is a business organization that exists as a legal entity and provides limited liability for its owners. This means that a person's personal assets outside the business cannot be taken by creditors if the business fails. This is not true for a sole proprietorship. The concept of limited liability that applies to the corporate form of organization does not apply to a proprietorship because the business for a sole proprietorship is considered an extension of the individual and not a separate entity. This means that for a proprietorship, the owner's personal assets outside the business can be taken by creditors if the business fails. A corporation is a business that is recognized by the law as having a separate legal existence or legal entity. It can be sued, hold property, and incur debt, but all of this is separate from individuals' personal assets. A C corporation is an ordinary or regular corporation chartered by the state and taxed by the federal government as a separate legal entity. The Supreme Court has defined a corporation as an artificial being, invisible, intangible, and existing only in relationship to the law. Its advantages are that it is a perpetual entity independent of owners' lives, that the liability of owners is limited, that ownership is easily transferable, and there are tax benefits. Its disadvantages are the potential loss of majority ownership, the corporate income tax, and state requirements for creation. If you start a corporation, you'll have a corporate charter, your articles of incorporation. This will include the name of your company, a formal statement of formation, the type of business that you'll be running, its location, duration. It will also include classes and preferences of stock, number and par value of authorized shares, voting privileges for each class of stock, names of incorporators and directors, capital stockholders, a statement of limited liability for stockholders, and a statement of the director's powers. Now let's look at the rights and legal status of stockholders. First of all, the stock certificate is a document specifying the number of shares of stock owned by a shareholder. Preemptive right refers to the right of current stockholders to buy new shares of stock before they're offered to the public. When looking at stockholders' legal status, their ownership provides control over the firm. Their ownership also limits liability to investment in the firm. When issues of death or withdrawal of stockholders occur, ownership in a corporation is readily transferable. Ownership can be transferred without affecting the firm's operations. But in order to maintain corporate status, the business must hold annual meetings, keep minutes of these meetings, and maintain bank accounts that are separate from the owner's accounts. This is the end of Part 2 for Chapter 8. Please proceed to Part 3.